All right, let's talk about Music City Open because wow, there was a lot of things that I did not expect to happen. All right, so going into the final round, it was looking like it was probably going to be a Dickerson win and not even really that close. He's won before. He knows the course well. He has a 2-stroke advantage, and that is a decent chunk for any player, let alone a player that's a defending champion, potential defending champion. But the amount of players that were in contention was just totally absurd. Starting out the final round, just to name a few players that were in contention, we had Simon, Anthony, AB, Dickerson, Buhr, Calvin, Proctor, Austin Turner, and every single player looked like they might take it down at some point in this tournament. So the amount of swings was just totally absurd. You had so many interesting putts, interesting shots, and for the most part, everybody played very, very strong. Really, the only person that kind of choked on final round was Dickerson. Finished with a 5 under, really just not what you need to take it home. The average scores of the top 4 players was about 9.5 strokes under. So Dickerson 5 under just wasn't going to cut it. And I'm certainly betting that Dickerson maybe considered taking it a little bit easier because he has the advantage and he knows the course well and he's won here before, but that just did not work out well for him. But once again, amazing to see James Proctor, maybe not necessarily getting a win or top 3, but still a 6th place finish is really strong for somebody that has never been on tour until this year, at least full time that is. So he has 4 top 10 finishes already this year on tour, and his worst finish was a 14th at LBC. So he is clearly showing up, and he has already gotten 1 podium finish. So he is really playing strong and consistent. So now we get to the top 4 players. We got Gannon, Calvin, AB, and Simon. And I would say Simon really wasn't even in contention. He had some great shots. He had some good birdies in the front 9, but there was no point that anybody was really considering him to be the winner. Maybe just like top 3, but probably top 5 in all reality, because the lead card and Calvin were just totally destroying because Gannon, Calvin, and AB were 5 under through 9 and playing a very hot start. But then every single person seemed to fall off in a little strange way. You had Anthony Barela kind of just falling apart in his putting a little bit, just a little bit high on some of his putts. Still had some great shots and finished with a turkey, so it didn't finish poorly, but just not enough to finish with the win. You had Calvin getting that little bit of a cold stretch like he does in some final rounds. It's been happening a lot less, but he does still finish with a 4 under on the back 9. Not bad. And he does continue his streak of getting a podium finish for the entire duration of the season. It still totally blows my mind that is a reality that we live in. Calvin just cannot seem to let up. He is totally crushing it. So then there's Gannon. And I would say Gannon looked to have a very strong position to get the win. He was playing well. He was playing his game. There wasn't really too many shots that I really had doubts on. He was throwing it very well, but then just gets a couple more pars than he want in the back 9 and misses a decent amount of putts, finishing 67% circle 1. But to go along with that, he did have 50% C2, so his putting percentages from circle 2 are just outrageous, and they continue to be outrageous. Just making 3 40-footers. Totally absurd to get that in the final round where it absolutely matters most. But his downfall was the treacherous hole 17. He had a pretty good shot, just a little bit low, a little bit inside. It skips way outside, gets out of bounds. He missed his putt, gets a bogey, and that puts him basically totally out of contention. If he would have gotten that birdie, he would have probably gotten a playoff with Simon, and I think after Simon cooled down and realized how insane he played, I think it probably would have gone to Gannon. But that's not the world we live in. This is the Simon tournament. Once again, we get a Simon winner. I totally did not see Simon. I saw him like top 10 at the start of the round, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what comes of that. He plays 3 under through the front 10 holes, which is decent, but it's not really what you need to get a win by any means. I was like, oh, this is just another tournament where Simon plays all right and gets like a top 10 finish. Cool, good for him. But I check back and I see he's gotten 5 birdies in a row. He has birdied 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and I'm like, okay, this is potentially a Simon tournament. But I was thinking like, oh, there's just no way. There's so many players that are coming right up after him. Calvin on his car is playing really well, but he continues to have great shots. And I think what's more important than that is that he doesn't need to putt. I think there are a lot of instances where he can misfire on his putts, which can lead him to making errant mistakes, and that is not what happened with this event. And honestly, besides a 38-footer and a 70-footer on Simon's first 2 holes, he didn't make a single circle 2 putt or really a circle 1 putt for the duration of the entire round. He had 2 27-foot putts, but other than that, everything was 15 and under. So having that ease walking into your putt, knowing that you only have to make like a 15-footer, has to be such a weight off your chest because you know you don't have to worry for the next hole. And then even that, when you get to the next hole, Simon wasn't really in contention, even from his perspective, I wouldn't say. So he knew that he was just kind of playing for fun. He wasn't necessarily trying to charge charged super hard. He was just like, yeah, we really want to get this birdie. And Simon's checking scores on the back nine, but I don't think he really had the thought that he was going to take it down by any means. So playing from that behind perspective, but not having to worry too much, I think it was the perfect environment for Simon to get those 8 birdies in a row right as he needed them most. And with a 92 circle 1 percentage, I think it is clear that his putter is going strong, even with the fact that a lot of those putts were mostly shorter. So Simon takes it down by 1 stroke against Anthony Barela, but more than likely it would have been a Calvin and Gannon playoff if they were to finish strong, which they didn't. So overall, I'm just so excited with how this tournament ended up. I'd love to see that Simon got a new win with MVP and getting that historic benchmark of getting 2 chase card wins, matching Ken Climo and Paul McCartney. A totally outlandish stat to get with these Hall of Famers, and especially coming from Simon, who is still figuring out his bag and doesn't have a great grasp about all of his discs and how they're working yet. But I would say he's clearly figuring it out. And if you're MVP, you have to be pretty stoked. You get James Conrad, first season, he wins Worlds in the most insane fashion. Then you get Simon, his first year. He wins in the most crazy chase card win I think I've ever seen. So MVP must be clearly very excited, as am I. What a great finish. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Wild Runs signing out. Peace.